smiled at me, bowed. I turned around and left the tram, and the doors closed, and I smiled into my hat and my backpack on my lap. This is now where I hold up a sign that says, Act 2. In company. Winter winds. The wind's racing around the pines, and it storms my bedroom window and flings iced flakes onto my cheeks. And I hear it in crescendo, tapping the latch in mixed bursts of allegro taps, like an underscore of a game of light and shadow. Snug bundled under my goose down, there are memories in the air like a Dickinson visitor. The snow through the window blows my eyelids closed, and I'm skiing where the slopes cradle the Mississippi, far from the gravel-specked piles of city snow to the tended slopes, drawn into a cycle of being lifted up to go down one more time a little faster. Under my red gingham flannel, where my heat is provisionally trapped, I'm suddenly aware I'm very vulnerable to change. My father owned snowmobiles, black and yellow bees that flew over frozen lakes and crested in drifts in cornfields. I have a photograph of me in an afro fur hat, carrying an attitude. A day back then, buzzing in white desolation, seemed somehow unfair. In the photograph, my father's behind me, carrying a helmet and a rosy-cheeked smile. I wish I had known then, the last time that I did these things that seemed so familiar, that it was the last time that I would do them. Hundreds of meters away, a snowplow, its iron bow laid on asphalt, resonates through the neighborhood. The gruff wail is the sound of a train off its rails, mixed with the whir of a helicopter in flight. It's an audible lighthouse circling to help us keep the visible familiar, the familiar visible, and to help us stay oriented. The small sounds of home. The call of a crow always takes me flying over barren brown fields and the tall grasses on the edge of a swamp. And when I hear the rolling approach of a small engine plane, it grounds me to this piece of earth like an afternoon nap on my parents' big bed. The natural brisk swish of leaves doesn't do it, nor does the hard rain on the roof. There's no time machine magic in those. Even though the rain just falls a meter from my pillow. And on summer evenings, when the taunting Nordic light refuses to fade into night, and the stars are kept wrapped behind a blue as soft as powder, the rev of a lone motorcycle along a nearby highway transports me to the summer when I got my driver's license, and the rural root beer stand where I learned how to glide gracefully through parked cars and earn my tips that paid for my gas. Finding myself in a waiting room. I cross my leg, one over the other, and swing it in the rhythm of my mother. I am not her. Nor am I the white trim that butts against the floor and runs the walls of this room. It's not me. Though my eyes are caught up in following its belled edge as it ducks out over the corner to explore a closet or push itself around along the bathroom tiles, its dead-end rooms, pointless adventures. And the calming blink of the exit sign holds no power to change anything. It just blips over the patterns laid by the interior. I am not a red light. Nor am I these shelved and handled magazines, covers splashed to be touched and discussed. My contents cannot be leafed through. No one can discover the depth beneath my gloss. I'm not any of these vagabond people either, whoever they are. I know who I am. They are not me. My foot keeps pace, empty action without friction, 1 foot running in place. I am not her. Daughters and donuts. No, I don't think our ancestors looked down from the night sky. You heard that in the movie, not from me. Stars. Those are just bright stars, and no, they don't have eyes. But yes, I do think wisdom falls from heaven like snowflakes, or powdered sugar on waffles, sprinkled lightly only to be discovered after it's been tasted. It's an enhancement sort of thing. Not everyone knows how to do it. But no, I don't think everyone shakes their holy topped jar over their life. It's a separate, then beat, then fold in your egg white kind of deal. Not everyone does know how to do it. And yes, pie crust can be difficult, but rewarding. Unlike donuts, especially the ones made with potatoes, no delicate shape there. The dense cake-like fluff is fried, then rolled in nib sugar. Those might look good, those little pearls, but they will all fall off before they touch your tongue. And no, Grandma didn't know how to bake. I taught myself. Read a lot of books when I was young, but mostly I learned from tasting. Still chartreuse. The lantern glows pale yellow. Denial reads the paper, doesn't say a word, doesn't check the clock, doesn't herald the forecast, or listen for the sounds of a waking house. Denial sits in pale yellow. But the forest floor is still chartreuse. The yellow of death hasn't fully leached out the green out of the ferns. There's a neon patchwork of moss and the blood-red blueberry leaves. There's still time to gather. And the morning sky is a blue page of airmail stationery, and the birch trees wave faded yellow stamps in the October wind, and it's easy to pretend she's still in her room. Pink is for a daughter, a eulogy for my mother, February 2012. Today I will find something pink to wear next to my skin. It'll be a soft comfort like a crocheted cotton hug. And in pink, it will offset the glint of my hair and the silver rings on my fingers and the threads that dangle amethyst chips on twists of wire from my ears. And as a daughter in pink, today I'll recall her tugging at my hair with persistence, clasping and turning it tight onto that ancient curling iron. She'd make perky curls like poodles to tame and tease with her feminine magic. And within my hairdryer's lowing tones, I'll hear the moaning and fuss of me, her youngest of three, a small, unknowing apprentice. But on this day, it will be my father's eyes I see in the mirror. Hard crease of time between my furrowed brows, gently bent over sorrowed lids painted in midwinter grays. This winter's quick, joyful marriage of my daughter, followed by the sudden, peaceful death of my mother, has heralded me into the next phase of my life. And it's in pink that I quietly declare I am determined to embrace the vibrancy modeled by my mother, because I know, I understand it's a gift she gave me to give my daughter. The smell of an evergreen. It's easy to find her at a perfume counter, her timeless scent and the shade of lipstick to offset her green eyes. My father can be conjured up too, though less tangible. He's an ice-kissed wind mixed with cigar smoke. Always leaves a sting in my eyes. We brought the tree in yesterday. Pine sap burns my skin, so I have to wear gloves, but the fragrance is worth the tradition. The scent feels like the house, like childhood hope. Last night I dreamed a conversation with death. Or was it about death? I can't be sure. But death was a child that smiled in my face, head tilting, asking questions about my mother. Did she do enough? Enough, do enough. I replied, whether she did or didn't, there's nothing to fuss over. She's dead. She's done and over, she's dead. Why ask if that's enough? Why wasn't that enough? Who expects more than to live and die and be happy? Hours passed and the dream looped to and fro. The imp at the tip of my nose, my face and my face and my face. Was it enough in a day upon day upon day upon day? Did she do enough? And tell me, what is the measure of enough? The dark-eyed child never faltered. How else to fill your days if not with being happy? Is it enough to be yourself, to be happy? Isn't it? Is it? To be happy? Is it enough? Death ran away, and my sleep was broken by its sudden silence. Outside, a heaven full of snow was falling over Christmas morning. Early May on the Baltic Sea. Downy birch stand on both sides of the road, 100 white soldiers at ease with everything that travels the dusty asphalt. Their leaves are not early this year, but neither are they late. And if all things maintain this mediocrity this year, we will be thankful. My mother said a person lives many lives in their lifetimes. Clips of routine that seem permanent can change from sunrise to sunrise, and a morning storm here or there cannot hinder the noonday sun from making its scheduled appointment. And so the leaves will arrive in time to wave the nightingale and warbler into hiding, and they will sing the wisdom of holding small moments to those that drift down the asphalt, going from one place to another. Last month, I escaped to Tallinn with a good friend of mine. And walking through the department stores, I walked past a table filled with fur hats. And as soon as I realized what I'd walked past, I took a step back and looked and plopped one on my head. And I looked for my friend to see how it looked. I looked for my friend to see how it would look. And when I caught his eye and he smiled at me, I thought, do I need another fur hat? I have 4 at home. I don't need another fur hat. Do I? Surely not. I better look in the mirror. Took one peek in the mirror. I came home with a fur hat. Warm. I've always liked hats. No, I started liking it. I haven't always liked hats. I've liked hats since I was in my mid-20s. It happened when I was working downtown Minneapolis at a bank, and a woman I worked with, we used to go shopping often, right downtown in the heart of Minneapolis. And one day she said, well, how old was I? 23, 24. And she said she wanted to go buy a hat. Well, I had never known anyone. She was younger than me. I think she was 22. I don't know how old she was, but she was a little bit younger than me. And I had never known anybody who wanted to buy a hat. Black and white film characters wore hats. Old ladies wore hats. She wanted to go buy a hat. I was very intrigued, so I thought, okay, I will go with her. It was like an adventure, and we went down the mall of these fancy stores that we had often gone into, but she took me into a special door that I'd never noticed before. And after I had followed her through, it was like walking through into the back of the wardrobe into Narnia. Suddenly I was in a milliner's delight. There were hats like I had never seen, and these were not sport knitwear or little beanies. These were felt works of art, all perched. It was like an arboretum. There were trunks of these trees of hats on little tiny pillows, and all these hats stacked on top. And they were red hats and blue hats and green hats, all kinds of colors, felted, velvet, plain, straw, so many hats. I was mesmerized by what I had just tripped into. My friend went straight to get help from a woman, a sales clerk. And I stood there dazed and realized that there was a woman about 10 years older than me at the time trying on hats. And she was gorgeous. She was beautiful. And I realized she was almost doing choreography with the hats. She would reach for them off their little pillowed tier things, and she would look for where the label goes, and she would plop it onto her hat and look at the mirror. She would roll it off. I mean, it was like choreography, and she put another one on. Each hat she put on was beautiful. She was beautiful. Motion, beautiful colors, and the hats all looked good. Every hat she put on. And I stood there gawking, pie-eyed. I had tried to hide behind a pillar, but realized soon that I had gawked my way out from behind the pillar, and she made eye contact and smiled. And I was so relieved because I was so out of my element and environment, I didn't know if she would holler at me or I didn't know what she'd do, but she smiled. And in my dumbstruck way, I told her that every hat, that she had a beautiful hat face. And every hat she tried on was beautiful. I said, I don't have a hat face. And she stopped and she looked at me and she said, it's not about if you have a hat face. It's about if you think you can wear a hat. If you think you can wear a hat, you can wear a hat. If you don't think you can wear a hat, then you can't wear a hat. I have repeated this story so many times in my life, in so many situations, because it is so true about so many things. If you think you can wear a hat, you can wear a hat. The hat that you put on can define who you are. If you think you can wear that hat, then wear that hat and wear it well. And if you don't think you can wear that hat, then so be it, you can't. There it is, you get to decide. I own many hats. I own many hats. And I have to say that even though it's been 30 years, I don't think I ever put on my hat without recalling the woman in the downtown Minneapolis store. Do you have a hat face? Does it matter? Do you believe you can wear the hat? I believe now. I hold up a sign that says, Making Contact, Act 3. Morning of the first day. Ink fades off papers tucked in drawers. Titles of languages not understood whisper down hallways, leading into rooms without answers. Stores of small singular items press against glass jars and collected shelved beauty by a girl I could not have known. The stillness of air swallows memories whole without leaving traces on the plate to fuss over. A slice of sun brings warmth to the cheek on the pillow of a brand new year. Coordinates. When lying awake, or sometime on the bus, try to resolve how to do it once and for all. Conclude that a large table is needed to spread things out on, to pat the folds, note the creases, and detours marked by bloodlines, those that crossing no man's land. Become no man. Who's to say it isn't so? According to them, the crumpled instructions have inscriptions and directions written in code only decipherable if the navigator, which is you, wears the correct frame of mind like a pair of borrowed glasses. Envision a surface to view all the options, but the right way's forever a wad of secrecy and a vaguely stated mystery, so use your passion like an explorer. Dig out of yesterday, dot a line through tomorrow, claim a new destination with or without the flat map. Okay, I was downtown, sat in a brown cushioned rattan cafe drinking coffee, enjoying my solitude among all the other self-absorbed, internet-minded, iPad equipment gadget holding people, when across from me sat, suddenly in buzzed this boy, buzzing in front of me, and sat in front of me. His eyes were fixed on what he had in his hand, which was a small envelope. And he did a little dance like this to get his backpack off, and his backpack fell into his jacket. And as soon as he had his hat off his head, he took out what he had in his hand and fanned them out, and it was football cards. I was wiggling my iPad trying to get, how I can look at him without actually seeing him, I'd like to take his picture. I was trying to catch it. And he had these on, fanned out. And I was just about to take his picture when he turned around and reached into his backpack and pulled out a red folder. Opened up the folder, and inside there were rows upon rows upon row of football players. And he took the cards that he had in his hand and he inserted them into his pocket. He was so excited he was almost shaking. He slipped them in like he was a surgeon, or like he was planting seeds, or he was doing some very, very important job. And as soon as he was done with that, he then leafed through the book. And he touched the torso of the guys, and he touched their faces. And I'm trying to wiggle my iPad. And he's touching all the torsos, all the faces, going through them, and then he actually let out a sigh of great satisfaction and relief. And I was just about to take his picture when he reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, yada yada yada, something about his mom, blip, and he was gone. And I looked up, and everybody else in the cafe sat in the brown rattan cushioned cafe. They hadn't seen him. I was only lucky enough to see him because I looked up for a second to check out the environment because I needed to rest my eyes. He was electric with no electronics.